Hello and welcome to the World Wanderers podcast, a proud part of the Wander Barn Podcast Network.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Amanda.
And we're your hosts.
We're a traveling couple and digital nomads taking you on our adventures as we explore locations, destinations, and careers.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We are really excited that you're back joining us on this Argentinian adventure. So today we are talking about Bariloche. On the last episode, if you haven't listened to it yet, you can go back and check out. But we talked about the planning for our trip, the reasons behind it, and a little bit about our first impressions. And so now we are diving in.
Yeah, so where we left off last time was arriving in Bariloche and being very impressed and stunned by the views. And like we'd said, we'd been to Bariloche one time for a couple of nights back in our big backpacking trip in 2014. So it'd been, 9 years, almost 10 years since we'd been there. So a long time since we had been to Bariloche, even looked at our photos of Bariloche. And so it felt kind of new. Like it was kind of like returning to a place we knew a little bit, but a lot of it felt very new and we just had amazing first impressions. But before we dive into what our experience was like, let's just talk a little bit about Bariloche for those of you that don't know anything about this city. So it's officially known as San Carlos de Bariloche, and it's a city in the province of Rio Negro in Argentina. And it's located in the foothills of the Andes on the southern shores of, bear with me so I don't butcher the name of this lake. I think it's pronounced Llao Llao. What do you think?
I think that's just a good shot.
Llao Llao. I don't know if we're pronouncing the H or not. And it's a big lake. Like it's so big that on the windiest days, like we actually had waves. It's huge. So it's not just like a little chiquitito lago. It's like or lago chiquitito. It's like a big lake. And it kind of, the town is located on kind of one part of the lake. And this area is really well known for its stunning alpine scenery. It is in Patagonia, but it's in the Lake District of Patagonia. And it's very, very close to the Chilean border. So when you look at it on a map, you can see Chile quite close. And it's not a very big town. The population's around a little over 135,000 people as per the internet tells us. And that feels about right. And, it feels like it's got a really great blend of locals as well as, expats and people from other countries. Our Airbnb host was actually British, married to a local Argentinian woman. And so you experience a lot of people from other countries, which is really cool. And so let's talk about climate. I feel like this is another important part of Bariloche. So when people think Argentina, I think they think generally warm.
Well, I think it's a big ski destination. So I think skiing might be more primary than summertime hiking.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because spoiler alert, it was very cold while we were there, unexpectedly cold. And I told a couple of friends from home and they were like, I don't know if this is dumb, but I didn't really think that Argentina got that cold. Although obviously they have, Patagonia, Ushuaia, bottom of the world. It's like going down to Antarctica. Like obviously there's going to be winter there. But Bariloche experiences, according to the internet, temperate climates. Summers are December to February. Those are ideal times for outdoor activities like hiking, kayaking, windsurfing, exploring the lakes, that type of thing. And then winter, June to August, is cold and snowy, and it's known for, like you said, skiing, snowboarding. And they actually have a mountain called Cerro Cathedral that is famous for skiing and snowboarding.
It seems like maybe for Argentinians, Bariloche is more of like a go-to winter spot, and internationally it's a bit more of a go-to summer spot. It seems like in the summer, Argentinians want to be like at the beach, Mar del Plata, Uruguay, Brazil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that's really great if you're like a digital nomad or, somebody who is location independent and you're looking for, say you're from Canada or Northern US and you're looking for a winter destination to go to. I mean, Argentina is really awesome because their seasons obviously are opposite of ours. And so we met a lot of people who were like summering in Argentina. But if you are kind of noting or remembering that we went in November, that is right before summer. I do not feel like we got springtime temperatures, but that was the plan, was to kind of go in one of the shoulder seasons because we thought it would be a little less busy. It'd be a little less expensive. That time of year worked really well for us as well for traveling. And so that's why we chose that time. We hit an unexpectedly or unseasonably cold November while we were there. So I feel like we got like a little more winter than springtime temperatures, but maybe my idea of springtime is just totally off from living in Mexico for so long now.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone we talked to who was from there was kind of like, oh, November's normally quite windy, you know, a bit of a mix up and down temperature wise, but this year's been like really cold.
Yeah, I mean, to give you guys an idea, we were there for 3 weeks. I think we got there November 3rd or 4th, and we left the 22nd, I think. So we had a good 3 weeks there. And when we got there, we arrived on probably the most beautiful, or maybe second most beautiful day we had. I think it was somewhere between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius, which is amazing. Sun was shining, super nice, like just, you know, a breeze. So you just need kind of like a sweater or a light jacket, that type of thing, especially in the evening. And we had one other day that was that warm, and then the rest were very cold. And so what we kind of planned for was like highs of 15 during the day, which seems very springtime to me. But some days with the wind, it was like 2 degrees. So that's like very different. And it actually snowed twice. So our daughter got to experience her first 2 snowfalls, which she seemed to not be a big fan, but maybe that's because we did not have a snowsuit for her because we planned for spring.
Yeah, she also didn't really seem to like getting bundled up in cold weather gear in general. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, it's funny because we're Canadian, but we've been parenting in Mexico the entire time we've had a child. So we haven't had to do this like bundle the kid up to get out the door or rush them to the car seat without their, you know, big jackets on, because that's not safe. And then somehow get them dressed without having them freeze before you go and do something. But I felt like it was a lot of effort to get out the door. It was like, okay, we got to put your normal clothes on, and it's like, okay, we got to get your socks on, we got to get your shoes on, we got to get your jacket on, we got to get your hat on. Okay, now you got to get in the stroller, and she's a toddler, so all of that requires negotiation. And then we go outside and we play for like 10 minutes, and then she wanted to come inside because she was Frio. So it was a bit much. I think the other thing to add to our climate experience was that we all got a little bit sick. Well, quite a bit sick. So we spent a good amount of the month battling colds, which was a little bit challenging, on top of also dealing with some unseasonably cold weather. I think had we not all gone through the same whatever we got, vicious colds, we probably would have pushed through and done a few more things, which we'll talk about right away here, what we actually did do, what we didn't get a chance to do that's recommended, et cetera, et cetera. But there was just some days where it was like, it's way too cold to like, you know, take our daughter out when she's, you know, sniffling and coughing, or, you know, we don't feel well. So we don't want to like push through in the cold or the rain or whatever. So that was a little bit challenging, but that's all a part of travel. And I think that while the trip was not exactly what we expected, we still made the best out of it, and we still had a really great time, which we'll talk about overall impressions at the end. But the spoiler is that we still love Bariloche. It's definitely on our list to return to, hopefully in the next couple of years. But why don't we dive into the things that we did do, what we did get a chance to experience, and then we can talk about some of the other recommendations for anyone planning a trip there.
yeah, and just really quick on kind of setting the stage for Bariloche, I think we talked a tiny bit about this. Bariloche, I think it's technically, people consider it Patagonia, right?
Yeah, northern Patagonia.
But it's like quite a ways up, so not maybe like halfway if you were looking on a map at Argentina. And Bariloche is very well connected, reasonably well connected by air. So I think most people going there will fly there unless you're on like a really big road trip. Outside of 2 months of the year, you can fly there from Santiago. Can't do it in November, can't do it in April. You can fly there from Buenos Aires. You can fly there from most principal cities in Argentina. And even Sao Paulo, I think. Not all year, but like some parts of the year has flights from Sao Paulo direct to Bariloche. So it's it kind of surprised me when we landed, actually. I was like, oh, this airport's kind of bigger than I would have thought.
Yeah, for a city of like 135,000. It's kind of funny because we live in, you guys know, Querétaro, Mexico. We have an international airport here, but and it services a city of 1.5 to 2 million, significantly smaller, I'm pretty sure.
Much smaller.
Yeah.
Maybe not smaller in terms of like air traffic, but the actual buildings that comprise the airport, probably half the size.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to do some actual research on that, but it felt significantly smaller.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into what we did. So maybe another point that we can add to this is one of the things that we decided to do when we got there is we rented a car. So originally we were just going to rent a car for like a small period of the time that we were there. But we decided, since the airport is like 30 minutes from, the city center and from the town we were staying in and stuff like that, that we would, and the cost was very affordable. We decided to just rent it the whole time. We thought that would be the most convenient. Given the weather that we experienced, I'm really glad we had a car, because some days walking like 20 minutes just to get food felt like very, very cold. And so we were happy to have that, especially during times of sickness.
And it seemed like Uber was kind of unreliable.
Yeah, Uber was unreliable. Rappi was also unreliable. So ordering food in was a bit unreliable. So it was really, really nice to be able to have our own like mode of transportation and stuff like that. And so that's just a little bit of an addition and a pro tip with this. The first time we were there, we obviously didn't have a car. We were major backpackers and stuff. So we just got around via bus and walking. But I think having a car made things significantly more convenient for the experience we wanted to have. And so one of the first things that we did, and one of the things that is on kind of all of the lists of top things to do in Bariloche, which this is something we would highly recommend, is called Circuito Chico. And this is a scenic driving route that loops you through some of the most picturesque parts of this area. You get panoramic views of the lakes, the mountains, the forests. You get to drive past Hotel Llao Llao, which we'll talk about as well as Colonia Suiza. And there's just a lot of different viewpoints you can stop at. So it's really nice to be able to have some time on the drive to just stop and take photos. And so I think we actually ended up driving this maybe a couple times. We did the loop fully one time. It was pretty rainy the day we went, but it was still amazing, super beautiful. And then we did parts of the loop other times as we were visiting various different places, which we'll kind of tell you more about as we go. So that was the first thing that we did. That was really awesome.
Yeah. Like you said, it's, I think, a really cool thing to do right at the start. You can do it by tour. You can also obviously just drive it if you have a car. But this road is, so it kind of looks like a lasso or something. One road out of Bariloche, and you do a circuit that connects back to the road and comes back. Jumping off point for a ton of different hikes, a ton of different activities. Lots of restaurants are out there. We'll talk more about like places to go and things to do. But one of the kind of main attractions in Bariloche is the brewery scene. And on this route, lots of different, really well-known breweries. You could go have a nice day. The driving would get a little bit shaky by the end of it, but you can go to lots of different breweries, and lots of places will mark themselves, like in their name, they'll put like 18.2 or 11.1 to mark the kilometer they're at along Circuito Chico. So yeah, beautiful road. Something really awesome to do at the start, because it kind of like sets the stage for other things. And then this is, on this route, tons of different hikes and spots to stop and things to do.
Yeah, so one of the other things that we did was we did go hiking. We got a couple of hikes in, one kind of main hike. We did attempt to go hiking a few more times, but unfortunately weather did not permit us to do it, and then sickness as well. We had planned to hike, I think, as many days as we could, and we did not get very much in. So I'm not going to name any particular hikes because we didn't get to do anything that was super out of this world. But honestly, it's so beautiful there that I think any hikes you do, short or long, are going to be amazing. So just look up on All Trails or just Google hiking Bariloche and look at stuff depending on your level and, you know, how long you want to go for, how far you want to go for. We have even a friend who was there after us who got significantly better weather. And he even did like a 2-day hike where he slept overnight in like a little cabin and stuff that you can rent. So there's lots of opportunities for hiking there. And then the other thing that I would say that you definitely need to do when you're in Bariloche is go up one of the cerros. So a cerro is a viewpoint. The one that is the most popular is Cerro Alto. Unfortunately, Cerro Llao was closed the entire month of November for, I don't know, yearly maintenance or something like that. So we were not able to do that one. But we did get to go up Cerro Campanario, which has a chairlift, which our daughter did not like. She kept saying, no, 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 no. Even looking at the photos now, she's like, no, no. She does not like it. But she did great. No crying, up or down. I think maybe just a little bit new and scary for her. But you take a chairlift up to the viewpoint. There's like a little walk that you can do just to get the different angles, beautiful views from all directions. You get stunning mountain ranges. You get amazing shots of the lake. There's also a little cafe that you can sit up and just have, beautiful kind of panoramic views. So despite the fact that we didn't get to go up Cerro Llao, and I can't compare it because we didn't get to do it, I really liked Cerro Campanario. And I think probably during busy season, it's probably less busy. And I'm going to say maybe less expensive, but I don't know for sure. So you can just do your research and see which one you want to do. And then the other option that you have for cerros is Cerro Catedral, which I mentioned before is the ski hill. Ryan really wanted to go because there was snow up there, but we ended up not going just because it seemed like it'd be very, very cold. But this is the place where you can go if you want to ski. So if you're there in the winter, you'll probably go up to the ski hill. If you're there in the summer, it seems like there's some fantastic hiking to do up there, but I can only imagine that the viewpoints are incredible from up there. But regardless of what you choose to do, this was one of my favorite things we did. It was an incredible day, incredible views. I would really recommend get up high there. It's like being able to see all of the views is just amazing.
Yeah, and like you said, I think we were all kind of surprised we went and we're like, oh, there's no line, just got right on, went up. There's like a decent amount of people up top, but not crazy. So especially if there's like the most popular one was open, probably wouldn't be too bad. Although you kind of need to want to, certain things in and around Bariloche are worth kind of timing around tours, since a bunch of tour buses will show up places like 9 a.m. or whatever time. So those things happen.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that we did that was really fun was we went to Hotel Llao Llao. It looks like, if you speak Spanish, it looks like Hotel Llao Llao. It's like double L. It's on the Circuito Chico, like I mentioned before. It's like this really famous hotel. If you guys are like know Canada at all, it kind of gave me like Banff, like the Fairmont Banff Springs.
Yeah, not
vibes.
like architecturally, but that type of like prestigious, old school hotel in the mountains.
Yeah, for sure. And so something that's really popular to do in this area is to go for high tea, except high tea. So we went for high tea at 6 p.m. To me, that is not when you have tea, but I'm not Argentinian and I prefer to eat at much different hours than the Argentinians do. But I think you can get various different reservations. But one of the things that is quite common here, you mentioned the breweries, is going for tea. And so I feel like going somewhere for tea, I would suggest while you're there. And we went to Hotel Llao Llao. We felt fortunate enough to get a reservation there, and it was really beautiful. I feel like it was a nice experience. It's a bit expensive there, and it was a lot of like pastries. There wasn't a lot of substantial food, but the tea was nice. The views were great. It was very cozy, nice service experience. Obviously it's beautiful just going out that way. You drive like part of the loop to get there. And then you can kind of walk around the hotel a little bit, which is really nice. The grounds are beautiful views, like I said. And yeah, this is just kind of like an iconic experience, I think, to have while you're there.
Yeah, and so they do take reservations. It could be worth checking, especially if you're going in like high season, to reserve it in advance, and maybe you'll get a time closer to the afternoon time. But really cool experience, and also just fun because it's like it gives you the the access to go in, to park, to walk around the hotel, beautiful views. So definitely, that's one of those things everyone will tell you to do, and I think it's definitely worth doing. Yeah,
for sure. I would say also too, if you just want to go to Hotel Llao Llao for like a different meal, because you can also book, they have a bunch of restaurants. You could do like breakfast, lunch, dinner there. If you didn't want to do tea, there's a lot of little cute kind of tea shops along the Circuito that you could also do tea at if that was something you wanted to do. So the next thing we did, which I feel like this wasn't like my favorite thing we did, but it was still nice, was Colonia Suiza. This is on the Circuito Chico as well. And this is like this little Swiss colony, and you go there and it's like little Switzerland, which is so interesting and also so odd because it's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. But you go and they offer like fondue and chocolate, and yeah, it's got like everything kind of that you would imagine in Switzerland. The houses are built like Switzerland, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and it seemed like, again, we were there shoulder season, so I imagine it struck me as like a place where if you were there and like, you know, the heart of summer, there'd be people on bike trips and hiking trips and campers, and we were there. It was kind of dead because it was right after a storm, but it looked like there's kind of a lot of the popular breweries had things there, food trucks. So I don't think it would be like at the top of my like you must do this thing, but definitely on the list.
Yeah, for sure. On the other side of that, something that I feel like is definitely on the top of my I would highly recommend list is the Ruta 40 or Route 40 from Bariloche to San Martin de los Andes. And this has the like 7 lakes. It's like the famous like 7 lakes route. So I'm sure you can do tours of this, but I would really recommend renting a car if you can swing it. It is, how many hours? It was like 3 hours by car, 2 hours by car?
3 hours, just the driving part of it.
Yeah, and there's like a bazillion viewpoints. So basically to plan this trip, we knew we wanted to go and spend one night in San Martin de los Andes, which was really, really nice because then we didn't have to like rush there, rush back. I basically put into ChatGPT, like, we're doing this route, like, where are the best places to stop? And it gave me like 20 viewpoints. And so then I just went through them and looked at them on my map and kind of mapped out a bunch of different places to stop. So we had a ton of viewpoints to stop at both there and back. And San Martin de los Andes is really cute. And we had an amazing meal there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a mini Bariloche in some ways. Right on a lake, beautiful views. It seems like there'd be lots of good hiking out of there. I also was surprised to find out they have an airport, and so you can actually fly from San Martin to Buenos Aires if you want to. But yeah, the drive was really cool, viewpoint's really cool. We ended up getting there and being in some of the strongest wind we've ever experienced in our lives. Like, I remember, so we were there with our friend Nathan from Foodie Flashpacker. And the 3 of us had actually met in Manila. And while we were in Manila, there was a typhoon that came through. And so that was the only thing I could compare it to. I was like, this literally is as strong as the typhoon winds that we experienced.
I think it might have been stronger. Like, we walked from our hotel down to the lake, and, we stopped, we got chocolate, and we got like hot chocolate because it was still cold. And we get down and it's just like insane. Like, if Lou's stroller was like trying to control itself because it was just so windy. It was really, really wild. So the day we went, we stopped at a couple of viewpoints, but we had like pretty off and on, like rainy, not the nicest weather. It was really windy when we got there. But the next day we woke up and, we went for breakfast and we checked out a viewpoint that was in San Martin de los Andes. And it was beautiful. We had such a beautiful day. And so driving back, we stopped at a few more spots, which was really, really nice. But the views are just incredible. And a lot of places that we stopped at reminded me very much of the Pacific Northwest. It was giving me heavy, like, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, like British Columbia type vibes. The nature is just absolutely stunning. All the lakes are beautiful. Like, everything's just pretty well taken care of there. There isn't like a lot of pollution, and it's just an incredible, incredible experience to have.
Yeah, and the place that you stop at about halfway, or can stop at, the city is called Villa La Angostura, which I think if we were doing this and we were just like, hey, we're going 2 weeks, kind of basing ourselves out of Bariloche, but we're not working, we're not doing the nomad thing, I think I'd probably try to stay there, maybe try to stay in San Martin, and like mix it around a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of the maybe biggest bummers of the trip was that we didn't have amazing, even good weather. And so we had planned to hike, like I said, and so I think we'd wanted to kind of do, maybe a couple small hikes on our way up and then a couple on our way down. And there's plenty for all different levels. There was lots that were going to be very, family friendly with Lou and stuff like that. And the weather just was not really cooperative for that, unfortunately. So yeah, I feel like I could see us going back and just making up for all the hiking that we didn't get to do this time around.
Definitely.
So that's kind of our list of what we did that we really enjoyed. Outside of, we'll talk about just walking around the center, and we'll talk about food because that was a huge part of it. But one other thing that I want to mention that we really wanted to do, but unfortunately it just did not work out with schedules and climate and stuff like that, was there's a boat trip that you can take that goes from this port that's really close to Hotel Llao Llao, and it takes you to Isla Victoria and Bosque de Arayanes. Probably butchering that word as well. And this is probably one of the more like popular tourist things to do. I don't know if you can do this on your own or not. We were going to just take the boat tour and kind of do that. But yeah, I think just with work and sickness and weather, it just didn't work. So we've got something to do next time, but just something to check out if that seems like your vibe and something that you want to do. Definitely like a popular thing that many people recommend. So yeah, we'll just add that to the list.
Yeah, I think there are a couple hikes you can do from closer to Via Angostura to get to Bosque de Arayanes. But obviously Isla Victoria, I think it seems like there's like 2 tour companies. If you know someone there with a boat, I guess they could take you. But it seems like you've got to be on a tour to get to the island for the most part. Yeah,
for sure. And so one of the things we haven't talked about is the town itself. The town itself is super cute. It's full of a lot of local shops, restaurants, and chocolate stores. Bariloche is famous for chocolate, which who's going to complain about that? Not me. So there's many chocolate shops that you can visit, but I want to give a shout out to our favorite, which is Rapa Nui. Probably most people who have been to Bariloche will tell you to go to Rapa Nui. Rapa Nui is awesome. They have amazing chocolate. And also you go in this shop that looks like a little chocolate shop, and it just keeps going. Like you go through and you're like, oh, there's a restaurant here. And then you keep going and you're like, there's a skating rink back here. Like what is happening in this store? So not only do they have quality chocolate, but they have skating if that's your thing. If you have a toddler like us, Lou really liked watching the people skating. So I definitely would recommend going to Rapa Nui. You definitely have to have some chocolate while you're in Bariloche though. It's just one of the things that you have to do.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Rapa Nui, so it's like famous Bariloche place. We went a couple times. When we got there, we went maybe a day or two after and bought like a hot chocolate mix. That was kind of our go-to nightly routine, was having hot chocolate. And then when we went to leave in the airport, just before you go through security, there's another Rapa Nui there. And we'd been like, oh, should we take some home? I don't know. And then we're in the airport. So we're like, okay, well, we should go like right now. So before we went to security, went and bought Rapa Nui. Go through security.
There's another Rapa Nui.
Yeah, on the other side of security. And then we're like, oh, okay, well, I guess we could have got it there, but glad we got some. And then fly to Buenos Aires, get to our Airbnb, pull up Uber Eats, and we're like, oh, there's Rapa Nui here too.
It's like the gift that just like kept on giving.
You need to be in Bariloche to experience, but you should go while you're there because it's like the where it started spot.
And I mean, there's no skating rink at the one in Buenos Aires, so
at least not that we know.
Yeah, not that we know of. Okay, so one of the other great things to do in Bariloche is to eat, and there seems to be kind of 2 categories of foods that are really common there. One is burgers. There are a ton of burger restaurants in Bariloche. Our friend Nathan, who Ryan mentioned that we were with, kind of made it his mission to find the best lamb burger in Bariloche. So he was trying all the burger places. And then there's a lot of breweries, like Ryan said. So we'll talk a little bit about breweries in a moment, but I just want to name a couple of restaurants that we really liked. So top of the list is Alto El Fuego. This is an amazing steak restaurant. It was recommended by some friends of ours and also by our Airbnb host. They, at the time of us going / the time of recording, they did not take reservations, and they opened at 7:30 and they were full by like 7:50. So we would go at like 7:25. And since we had a toddler, we're standing out in the cold, they'd usually just seen us, which was amazing. So go when they open, unless you want to have a pretty big wait. It's a pretty small restaurant, or at least the one in the historic center is. They also have one at the train station, but the one in the center is pretty small, so they fill up pretty fast, like I said. So that's definitely number one, especially for steak. Second for steak would be Carnero. I feel like this was a close second for me. It was really, really good. They do take reservations, so I would make a reservation there because they also fill up quite quick. And then Oveja Negra has like probably the best empanadas we ate on our whole trip. Just very, very good. Very, very good empanadas. So I feel like we kind of had this rotation of like eating breakfast at home, Oveja Negra for lunch, and then rotating like, can we go to Alto El Fuego again? Is it open?
Yeah, we ended up going, how long were we there for? 3 weeks, basically?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Almost 3 weeks. Ended up going to Alto El Fuego 3 times, which honestly, looking back on it, I'm like, we should have gone. At least, we didn't go for the first time until like a week into the trip, basically.
Yeah, because I think we waited until Nathan got there to go, and he didn't get there till like a week after us, which was just a poor decision by us. We should have just been going right away.
We probably went 3 times in like 11 days or something. But yeah, that was great. And then, yeah, empanadas. So Argentina, if you're not familiar, empanadas are kind of classic in many different places of Latin America, but quite distinct. So like Mexican empanadas are kind of different than like Colombian empanadas and Venezuelan empanadas. And then Argentinian empanadas, almost a little bit more like calzone style. So they use glutinous bread around, kind of like pizza crust, and you can stuff them with all sorts of different stuff. So Argentina has awesome empanadas. Oveja Negra had really good empanadas.
Yeah. Another place that we frequently went, which this kind of gets into the brewery category of things, is a place called Manouche, which was also recommended to us by friends who had been there and our Airbnb host, so you know it's good. There is a couple locations, one in the historic center and then one kind of outside of the center as well. We visited both were nice. Manouche was probably my favorite brewery that we went to, and we ate at Manouche a number of times as well.
Yeah. You don't really drink beer. I like beer, but I'm not a beer connoisseur, but it had good beer. And then I think the thing that stood out was the food. Like all the other breweries we went to
had like okay food.
Yeah. But this one had really good food. And like, especially for the season, like there was this delicious pot pie, good burgers, good like comfort, warm food.
Yeah, for sure. We got there and I started feeling sick first. And I was like, I really just want like soup. My throat was hurting. My ears were kind of hurting. It was not cold compared to what we experienced there, but it felt quite cold, especially coming like from Mexico through Chile. And I was like, oh, I just want something, warm and soft and soup-like. And they had this chicken pot pie, which was just amazing. It came with this like fluffy crust on top of it. And you break open the crust and it just like gushes out heat. And it was just this delightful experience for a cool day. Maybe not what you want if you go in the summer because it's quite hearty, it's quite warm. But, you know, I tried other things there as well. They also had great burgers, salads, french fries, like everything we had was really yummy. So I would definitely recommend Manouche. And then continuing on our brewery experience, we also went to one called Kunstmann, one called Berliner, and one called Patagonia, which if you do any research on like cervecerias in this area, Patagonia will definitely come up. So why don't you talk us through those 3?
Yeah, so Patagonia is definitely the most famous of them all. I'm not sure about the timing of like which one started first and who kind of makes the claim to being like the brewery, but Patagonia is famous and it's also a really, really popular beer company. We hadn't been to Argentina in quite a while, so we didn't really know, but if you go to a grocery store in Buenos Aires, you'll see Patagonia beer. And so I think it's Patagonia 24 point something is the kilometer marker.
So it's the furthest of all the ones we mentioned. Like Manouche has in the city, and then it's just right out like maybe kilometer 1 or 2. And then they kind of just, I think Kunstmann is the next close, then Berliner. Patagonia is probably like 30 minutes driving. And it's also the busiest. So we didn't know you needed a reservation. Fortunately, because of Lou's like nap schedule, we showed up like right when they opened. And so we were able to get a table. But I think we were quite lucky because within 45 minutes, I think the whole place was full, which it's huge. This one I would say was the most beautiful for sure. It like overlooks a lake, just the interior is stunning. They've done a really, really great job with the location, but probably the worst food.
Yes. Yeah. Totally worth going. You should make a reservation, get out there on a sunny day. I don't think like the views are amazing. Just really cool vibe too. The building's beautiful. And they have all these cool chairs outside. So totally worth going to. Beers are really good. Food was so maybe don't plan to eat there.
Or just have a snack, like get some French fries or something like that.
Yeah, and then...
But they don't have ketchup.
Yes.
They're like, do you want barbecue sauce? I was like, I'm sorry, what? No, I want ketchup.
The other kind of most popular beer is called Blessed. You'll find that beer other places in the country. They have 1 or 2 locations. We actually got some food there one time. Felt like it was kind of mediocre. So
yeah, I would not put Blessed on my list of recommendations for places to go, but I think that the thing that's great is you can go to other great restaurants and you can get the beer. So Blessed beer is definitely a recommendation. Place, yeah. But Kunzman and Berlina, like we said, were a little closer, kind of more 15 to 20 minute drives from, maybe 10 to 20 minute drives from the city. Both were really nice. I think we really liked Berlina because they had this beautiful back patio space, and we happened to go on a pretty nice day, and they had a playground in the back. So it was very like family, child friendly. There was another little girl who was about Lou's age, and they, had a standoff over a little slide they were playing on. But, that was a really nice experience, I think, for us having a toddler. Yeah.
And Kunzman has a really, really nice view. It's like right on there's a road between it and the lake, but famous for the view. Definitely noticed like the prices there were a little bit more elevated. Our meal was good, not crazy good, but totally worth a stop at, and I think it's pretty famous as a spot to go.
Yeah, for sure. I think like marking all of them and just knowing like when they open and close and stuff, and then if you're doing like Circuito Chico or you're going out to hike, these are really great spots to stop like before or after your hikes or your sightseeing and things like that. Berlina and Kunzman, we didn't need any reservations, so Patagonia is the only one. It just is like the most famous. It has just like a whole setup and this whole like walk that you need to do to get down to it and stuff. But like we said, it was definitely worth it. 2 other noteworthy restaurants that we will mention. One is Anima. Anima is like out on the loop. It was close to Berlina, not too far from there, maybe 5 or 10 minutes driving. This is like a tiny little restaurant. They had 9 tables? You definitely need to...
I think there might have been like 5 or 6.
It's like a tiny little house that has tables in it.
Hard to get a reservation.
Thankfully, we were traveling with a food blogger, so he was able to get us in for a reservation, and it was an incredible experience. They had incredible food. I think one of the main challenges that we had, maybe just in general with Argentina, was that everything happens really late, and we have a toddler who goes to bed around 8. But most restaurants we were going to didn't even open till 8. So a lot of nights she wasn't going to bed till like 10. So her schedule was really thrown off. So that was a particular night where I think we got a reservation at like
8:30?
I was going to say 7:45.
No. Because we were there until almost like midnight, weren't we?
No, it was, no, we're such grandparents, such old people. No, we weren't there that late. I think we got home at like 10:30 or something, or 11. Anyways, we had a later reservation. Maybe it was like 8:30 or 8:45. And so she was like exhausted when we got there. So that's a bit challenging. But I think this is like a place that kind of pre-child, I would have like absolutely adored this experience. I still really enjoyed it. The food was really good, but between being tired myself and then having like a kind of tired, cranky toddler, I feel like that takes away from it. But Anima, I would definitely recommend. Try to get a reservation early. And the other one is Mi Piace. I think this is right in the kind of near the center. They have great breakfast and great lunches. This was definitely a go-to lunch spot for us, and they have really, really yummy cookies.
Yeah, more of like a cafe vibe, but yeah, really good cookies. Seemed to be quite popular with more of like a local crowd, and wasn't kind of down in the touristic zone.
Yeah. And then the last two places we want to mention are coffee shops. Doble Cero was like our daily go-to, amazing coffee. I think one of the great things about being in Argentina, if you're a coffee drinker, is that the cafes just do it well. They do it right. They take their time. Incredible lattes, great hot chocolates there. They had like some food that was good, but I feel like really not what I would write home about. But they had really great coffee. Like I said, we went there almost every day just because it was kind of on our walk into town.
And also a cool work setup too. Like that, I went and did work there one day. If you need to like bust out your laptop for an afternoon, that's a good spot to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other place we went to, which has like, full breakfast and even like lunch options, and I think kind of has a side for dinner later on, is called Malesa. Malesa is in a different part of town, but still kind of off the sort of city center. But what's great about Malesa is that they have an incredible view of the lake. And on a really beautiful day, you can sit outside. They've got picnic benches, they've got tables, they've got kind of swinging chairs. And then the whole interior is just big glass windows. So we would go there in the mornings. Some of the mornings we hoped to be hiking. We would go and get coffee and some snacks and stuff like that and just look at the views. And it was a really great way to kind of enjoy what Bariloche has to offer without necessarily being able to be outside or be hiking. So would definitely recommend that.
Yeah, and I think that was so it's beautiful. You can sit outside, great on a nice day. But I think for us, like the not so nice days, like the windy days, the rainy days, it was also just a way to feel like we're inside, it's nice and warm in here, but you have this beautiful view, but you're still cozy. So it was kind of like a way to feel like, oh, we're appreciating the beauty of this area while being safely inside.
Yeah, for sure. And so that kind of concludes the list. If anyone's been and has anything to add to it, feel free to reach out to us. But we'll make sure all of this is on the show notes for you guys, for anyone who's planning. But just know that even if you hit janky weather or you get sick in Bariloche, there are still plenty of things to do and see. And if all else fails, there is really, really great food. We ate at lots of other places that didn't make the list that were still really good, but those are our top spots. So why don't we just wrap it up with kind of overall thoughts, impressions, and final thoughts?
Yeah, so I think overall the vision for our trip was we're going to get out a couple times a week in the morning before starting work and hike and be out on weekends, and kind of got a bit unlucky with the weather and then also being sick. So that part of it didn't work out as well, but still really, really enjoyed the trip. It was really nice. Like, it's a good sized city, felt really comfortable there as a parent, and just lots of cool stuff to do. The food was really exceptional, and just like everywhere you go, you get a really awesome view. So it's definitely like a touristic spot, but I think well worth going to. And especially if you're on like a bigger trip, it could be a cool spot to like slow down for a little bit. But yeah, overall impressions were love to go back. I think I found myself looking at real estate listings afterwards, which is always like a good sign.
Yeah, I feel like the trip was like challenging in many ways with, the weather, being sick, all the things I've mentioned. We don't need to belabor those parts. But at the same time, I feel like the same thing. Like I want to go back. I want to experience more. I feel like there was things we didn't get to do that we wanted to, that I want to go back and do. And then the one final thing I'll say is that I felt like it was just like a really like great destination with a toddler. I felt like it was like quite a family friendly destination outside of maybe like the late starts for dinner and stuff, but that's just Argentina in general. That's just a cultural thing. But I never felt unsafe walking around. I felt comfortable taking Lou out on my own. I felt like she was welcome everywhere. There was playgrounds in many parts of the city. There was stuff for her to do. So, and I felt like it was just a really good sized city for what we were looking for. So yeah, I feel like I would echo what you said. Great spot. Would love to go back. Hopefully we'll get to go back in the next couple of years.
Yes, definitely. And then I think the only other thing I would add, if you're thinking of planning a trip there, I think Bariloche is the place to be if you're looking for like a spot in Patagonia to be a nomad. I think if you're just traveling, maybe like a couple nights there, a couple nights in San Martin, a couple nights in different cities, maybe camping somewhere would be the way I'd think about doing it.
Yeah, but if you are working, this is a great spot. There's co-working spaces, which we didn't take advantage of because we had a good Airbnb set up and the cafe, like Ryan mentioned. But yeah, co-working spaces and stuff like that. So if you are looking to base yourself there, it's a great hub. And so next time on the show, we are going to talk about Buenos Aires. So we will be back with our part 3 and final part of our Argentina series in a couple of weeks. Thank you guys so much for listening to this. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope it inspires you to maybe plan a trip to Bariloche, because Bariloche is incredible. Just maybe don't go in November.
Yes. Until next time.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you want more, make sure to check out The World Wanderers Insider, available on Patreon at patreon.com/theworldwanderers.
For show notes, head over to theworldwanderers.com. Find us on social media at The World Wanderers Podcast and join the private Facebook community at World Wanderers, a community for travelers.
You can always get in touch with us at info@theworldwanderers.com. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us find new listeners.
See you next time.